Welcome back to Primetime News.
And a special welcome to viewers on onespotmedia.com as well as TVJ International in the Cayman Islands.
At least one local economist believes getting inflation back on the target range will be among the first set of issues to be tackled by the new governor of the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ.
The Finance Ministry announced today that Dr. R. Brian Langrin has been appointed BOJ Governor effective Wednesday, August 19. Since April 2026, a search committee has been looking at local and international candidates for the position of BOJ Governor. This as Richard Biles is set to leave office on Tuesday, August 18, when his 7-year tenure comes to an end. The new BOJ Governor, Dr. R. Brian Langrin. A release from the Finance Ministry says Dr. Langrin brings more than 2 decades of leadership across central banking, financial stability, and multilateral development institutions. He has a reputation for strengthening institutions, modernizing financial systems, and advancing data-driven policy. Dr. Langrin is no stranger to the Bank of Jamaica. He has held senior leadership roles in financial stability and economic research. Dr. Langrin has also advised the central banks across the region, having served as a financial stability advisor at the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, an IMF-administered regional body. Economist Keenan Faulkner says Dr. Langrin is technically sound and pinpointed some focus areas.
Among those will include the take-up rate for Jamdex, the digital currency, as well as shepherding through to completion the Twin Peaks regulatory reforms that are currently ongoing. And also, I think the governor will have a big role in maintaining the institutional strengthening of the Bank of Jamaica since it has been independent over the last 5 years.
With inflation falling outside the central bank's target range of 4 to 6%, Mr. Faulkner believes that should be an immediate priority.
I think, though, that the main focus he will have immediately will now be trying to tame inflation, as we have seen the most recent figure just released for July 2026 for the previous 12 months point-to-point inflation is now at 7.5%. So trying to get inflation back within the target range within the shortest time possible will now have to command his attention and others at the Bank of Jamaica. But there is the sort of institutional memory that has been preserved that I think will serve him well as he takes his tenure.
Dr. Brian Langrin holds a PhD in economics from Pennsylvania State University in the United States and has published extensively on financial stability and monetary policy.
A prohibition order is now in effect for residents of 7 parishes. This means it is now illegal to use water from the National Water Commission, NWC, to do non-essential tasks such as watering your lawn. With less water available, almost every sector is feeling the impact. The fire brigade is no exception. And with more bushfires being reported, the task is now bigger than just saving water. Ramada Lyons explains.
The drought has been raging for weeks, with intense heat producing sweat that rivals pipes. Water conservation has become the main topic, but the discussion has now moved past filling buckets, drums, and bottles. Dry conditions trigger bushfires island-wide, so one focus now is environmental preparedness.
So a large volume of bushfire calls are coming in at this particular time. We have to be very, very cautious.
That's Acting District Officer for Fire Prevention in Mandeville, Karen Bramwell. The Manchester Fire Department is urging Jamaicans to exercise responsible practices to avoid bushfires. Immediately, burning garbage is a no-no. But even if you're abstaining from the act, you may still not be in the clear.
That even if you are not burning a fire in your immediate space, a simple thing as you not cleaning your gutter bed. So the accumulation of dry leaves can cause a nearby fire that ember flows from that fire can land in your gutter bed that has not been cleaned, and a fire can start from that. So some safety precautions are also necessary so that persons take note of how well they keep their environment. So clean your gutter beds frequently.
And another focus is above your pipelines. You move from the NWC to the JPS. Power lines. Intense heat and windy conditions spell disaster.
Power lines that run between trees, they want to ensure that the branches are trimmed, because a constant rubbing of the branches along the power lines can cause the insulation to be eroded, and then you can have a short circuit occurring. Also, you want to check your electrical wiring at least every 5 years or so forth, especially for older buildings, because over a period of time, the same insulation also can become crystallized and erode, and we can have short circuit occurring.
Now, the fires may blaze. The scope is usually determined by how swiftly the fire brigade responds, and the response relies heavily on the time a unit is dispatched. That's dependent on a fire call being made. This is the challenge.
Because we find that many times persons have a challenge getting in contact with us because they don't know the number. And so as part of our public outreach, we also try to help persons to be familiar with the emergency numbers.
If you need to contact the fire brigade, these are the numbers you should call.
So you can always get through on the 110, 112, and 119 call centers.
Ramarda Lyons, TVJ News.
Lawyers representing the PNP's Paul Buchanan have filed a constitutional motion before the Supreme Court challenging the election victory of Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness in West Central St. Andrew. In the motion, Mr. Buchanan is asking the Supreme Court to void the September 3 election result and to instruct the Director of Elections to hold a fresh election for the seat. More from Prince Moore.
The latest challenge by Mr. Buchanan comes just weeks after the appeal court rejected his application to overturn the election result. But in the constitutional motion filed on Friday, Mr. Buchanan and his legal team are asking the court to declare that the conduct of the election to fill the parliamentary seat was done in violation of his rights to a free and fair election as guaranteed under the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom. In his claim, he argues that the Director of Elections, who is the first defendant, violated his constitutional rights when he certified Dr. Holness to be the winner of the seat. He accused the Director of Elections of certifying the result despite what he described as egregious breaches of the Representation of the People's Act. In light of the alleged breaches, Mr. Buchanan is asking the court to declare the election void and order fresh election to fill the West Central St. Andrew seat. In the appeal, Mr. Buchanan alleged that irregularities and voter fraud influenced the result in the constituency on election day. But in its ruling, the appeal court said the timeline for him to present his challenge before the election court had expired. Therefore, the appeal was dismissed. Mr. Buchanan's first challenge to the legitimacy of the election results was rejected in a ruling on September 30, 2025 by the Supreme Court. Then, the constituted authority determined that his claims of irregularities on election day were insufficient to justify overturning the result. Dr. Holness won the seat by 7,054 votes to Mr. Buchanan's 4,953. His victory and margin prompted public debate because Dr. Holness had been trailing by nearly 100 votes after 87 of the 105 ballot boxes were counted. According to the Director of Elections, the remaining 18 boxes which shifted the outcome came from polling stations at Seaward Gardens Primary and Infant School. Mr. Wildman has promised that Mr. Buchanan's challenge will go as far as the UK-based Privy Council. Prince Moore, Radio Jamaica News.